Hello, this is Clay Neves, President of Personal Sales Dynamics. Have you ever been in that situation where you've started a sales conversation with a prospect? Could be at a trade show, could be face-to-face, could be at a networking event, where you're just meeting them and you launch into what it is you do. The question is, what do you do? You go to answer it, and it seems like they lose interest once you tell them what you do. Well, it's probably because you have stepped on a very common conditioned response that this person has built up over time to people who have approached them in a similar way. You know, for everybody who sells, we get in habits that are very common. And so people build up conditioned response to repeated stimulus. And if you're announcing what you do in ways that are very similar to everybody else in the industry that's selling the same thing, you have a problem. Because once they hear that common way of introducing what you do, you've triggered a conditioned response they built up that says to them, I know what this is, I don't need it, can't afford it. And the conversation may continue to be cordial, but you're just not getting any traction in terms of leading them into further interest, desire, or a call to action at the end of the conversation. This is because you have triggered a negative conditioned response that shuts down the conversation. In this webinar, Be Irresistible, we are going to share with you ways to avoid and to interrupt conditioned responses on the part of the prospect that tend to shut down the conversation. We are going to teach you how to trigger conditioned responses and what conditioned responses are built into us culturally that open us up to conversation and that keep the conversation going and directed in ways that will lead to agreement and closure in terms of a call to action, whether that's setting an appointment or actually buying something. You see, in sales, we get a little bit lazy sometimes, and we begin to talk in ways that are very common and heard all the time. And anytime we get into what we might refer to as vain repetitions, we are triggering conditioned responses. How do we talk about what we do in unique ways that they haven't built a conditioned response, a program to in their mind yet, so that they have to actually listen to what you say and think it through? That's what this seminar is all about. A lot of us think that we sell out there somewhere in the field. Actually, where sales takes place is behind the eyes and between the ears of the prospects that you're talking to. If you're not playing the game there, you're not selling at all. You see, the most important thing is not what you say. It's not even what you ask. It's not even what they say. The most important thing, the real sales conversation, takes place in their own mind regarding what you're saying. In other words, it's the conversation they are having with themselves about what you say that you need to impact. In this information-packed webinar, we are going to teach you ways to get into that conversation and influence at its max the conversation they are having with themselves about what you're saying. We're going to teach you ways to help them give themselves the presentation that you usually like to give by asking questions that trigger conditioned responses that open up the conversation so that you can know what they need, where their pain is, and how you can solve it. I invite you to attend this event if you want to have an impact on the way you sell and be able to sell much more in much less time, more profitably, more certainly. Clay Neves, Personal Sales Dynamics. I look forward to you joining me on this fun adventure called Irresistible. Thank you.